works.
Well, if you went around that first deep bend.
I went around the first deep bend.
Okay, old brick building right
Yes.
on the right hand side. That was my mom's first
Wow,
school.
it's not that bad.
Oh, no kidding? There is an old brick building right there, yeah?
Good morning. We are glad that you can be here today, and we will start out recording this with the hope that eventually the webcasting aspect of it will be solved and you'll be able to get on and view it that way. As those of you who went to our interest meetings about Smartbiz were told, a lot of the reason for Smartbiz is to help fill in blanks that maybe have been left from your startup process and not considered. And those of us that have worked with small businesses are very aware that people spend a lot of time thinking about starting, maybe not as much as we wished they did, but very often they have the startup part of it firmly entrenched in their mind, but they rarely think about their exit strategy. And that is as much a part of the planning process for a successful business as a marketing plan, a business plan, or any other kind of plan. So today we have Barbara Coates, and she is going to talk about how to work with your business so that you will have an exit strategy. So we appreciate Barbara Coates. You have her bio, and I hope you will read it, and I will turn it over to you, Barbara.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you all for being here. I've looked forward to this. Just to give you, and forgive me for having my notes in front of me. It's been one of those weeks where I thought if I don't have everything written down, I'm going to be all over the place. My name is Barbara Coates. I grew up in Starkville. I'm very familiar with MUW, and I worked at Mississippi State for quite a number of years, so the whole university environment is very familiar to me. I wanted to give you just a little bit about Modern Woodmen to know who we are, and we are not Woodmen of the World. We had a little discussion out in the hallway. Modern Woodmen and Woodmen of the World are two entirely separate companies. Modern Woodmen is a 501c8 fraternal, so we're a not-for-profit organization. And we, and as such, we give back to our communities in monetary ways, and we sponsor youth service clubs. We donate youth educational programs, and we do things like this. In addition to sit down with you and work on a business plan and work on your retirement plan, work on recruiting employees through effective benefits. And we don't charge for those services, and that's what makes us different from your profit-making organization. So educational programs like this is just one of the ways that we do give back to our communities. I want to talk about retirement from two different aspects today. One being your personal, we'll do an overview of your personal retirement, but then of course from a small business perspective, since that's what you all are here for, is to learn how to grow your small businesses. So whether you're saving for retirement or just trying to decide how you'll live on the savings you've already accumulated, it's important to have a plan. I know you all know that, and that's what you're here for, is learning how to develop a plan. You can't just rely on wishful thinking. It's not going to happen. And I think everybody in this room is probably over 21. Suddenly you wake up and you're 40, and then you're 47. You're going to be a grandmother. And, it happens before you know it. And every little bit counts. I look at my parents raised 6 children on an Army salary, and you were in the Air Force. Nobody was getting rich as a master sergeant. And my mother has more money put away than I probably will ever hope to have, and she's almost 93 years old. She probably didn't think she was still going to be 93 years old and alive and kicking and still costing herself money. And, she didn't really realize, I don't think, that every one of those nickels she put away, it was going to grow as it did. My mother always taught me that you put something in savings every month. If it's $5, it's $5. And so now I look at the nest egg that she has, and it's made a huge difference. So that's part of the culture of my growing up, is that I've always had a savings account. Sometimes it hasn't grown anything but interest, and now that I'm in the financial world, I've moved that savings account into a different vehicle, but always have a nest egg. And that's just part of the culture that I grew up with. Because you're business owners or preparing to be business owners, I do want to address retirement planning, as I said, from both the personal and business perspectives. And Cindy and I are going to work together on the clicking of the slides today, so bear with us if we don't. Go right ahead. And I'll point to you for the next one if that's okay. I don't think anybody's going to send us out of the room if we mess up. So from the personal perspective, before we discuss the different ways to achieve your retirement goals, we need to acknowledge some potential obstacles you'll face along the way. All right, go ahead, please. Number one, the traditional pension plan has been disappearing over the past couple of decades. It's been primarily replaced by plans that focus on contributions made by employees, such as a 401k plan. In other words, the employer's portion is fading. Next, please. The future of Social Security is very uncertain. Current system is strained by an increasing number of retirees. We're living to be older, which we'll come up with several times here, and so that Social Security is needing to last longer. And then we have a decreasing number of workers paying into the Social Security system. So less and less Social Security is something that we can count on. Next. And then healthcare costs. I'm sure we're all aware of the burden there. Next. And then inflation erodes the purchasing power of our savings over time. So, the nickel doesn't buy what it used to. And then there's pressure to increase taxes in coming years, obviously, due to the country's current budgeting situation. And then additional taxes could potentially leave less retirement savings for you, obviously. Next. And then, as I said, oh, you're good. It's great that we're living longer, but this also creates strain on all of these other things. As we live longer, the health care costs for us personally go up. It all feeds in together. Next. Okay, so outliving your retirement savings is a real potential problem. This shows you that if a single man lives to 65, he stands a 50% chance of living to 85, 25% chance of living to 92. Look at the difference in married couples. Married couples are happier and living longer. So if a married couple lives to age 65, at least one of them stands a 50% chance of living to 92 today, 25% chance of living to 97. Our grandparents, never had a dream of seeing 97. Our life insurance tables go to age 121 now. Isn't that crazy? So you can see what you can take from these numbers is that it's important to remember that your retirement savings need to last a long time. You need to have them budgeted to last a long time. Go ahead, Cindy. So saving for retirement does not have to be complicated. Number one, go ahead, Cindy, get in the habit of paying yourself first. Do what my mother did. $5 to the side. So pay yourself first. Any opportunity that you have for payroll deduction, even if you're the one doing payroll, that's the smartest thing to do. If you get it out of your sight, you don't realize that you're missing it nearly as much. Go ahead. Watch your spending. Small sacrifices now can produce a greater reward at retirement. I am a Dave Ramsey fan with as long as I'm able to say but over here. Dave Ramsey says, live today like no one else so you can live tomorrow like no one else. Makes a whole lot of sense. Next. Controlled spending also helps you avoid getting into trouble with debt. Debt is a huge concern in our country today, and especially when you're talking about retirement. That little word right there can eat up your retirement very quickly. Next. And then it's important to keep thinking about your long-term goals. Visualize them, have them in writing. Sometimes it's difficult to think about saving for something that seems so far away. But as I said, it'll be here before we know it. Okay, next. It's important to start saving for retirement as soon as you can. For example, Assume you contribute $100 at the beginning of every month while earning a 5% average annual rate of return, which would be really good these days. And as you can see, you'd have $83,000 over 30 years. Okay? But if you waited just 3 years to start, your savings will be reduced to $68,000 over 27 years. So what this is saying, at the end of 30 years, the person who started at 30 would have $83,000, but the person who waited just 3 years later and only had 27 of these 30, look at the difference. It's a $15,000 difference in 3 years. Time is your friend and time is your enemy. Depends on which way you're looking at it. It's going to run very quickly, but when it comes to money, time is your friend. It grows. Okay, go ahead. Here's another example of the importance in saving for retirement as soon as you can. Assume there's 2 individuals in this example. They each earn a 5% average annual rate of return and will retire at age 60. So the individual on the left started saving at age 30. He saved $3,000 a year for 10 years and then stopped at age 40. Okay, so $30,000 is what he saved. The individual on the right waited until age 40. She saved $30,000 a year for 20 years. And then stopped at age 60. So notice that the individual on the left, the left has accumulated slightly more than the individual on the right, but he only made half the contributions. There again, the value of time. Those numbers are pretty staggering if you think about it. And so this 30,000 grew to 105, but this 60 grew to 104, just because of the difference in time. Next. And one of the ways to have your retirement savings work hard for you is to take advantage of tax-deferred retirement options. Tax-deferred growth allows all of your money to work for you instead of losing a portion every year to taxes. Assume you made made a $2,000 annual contribution for 30 years and earned a 5% annual rate of return. And then also, this assumes a 25% effective income tax rate. You have to dance to it. So notice the difference. This is, the green area there is the person who contributed pre-taxed money and had tax-deferred growth, and the gray did not have tax-deferred growth. They contributed the same amount of money. It's almost $28,000 difference in the 30 years. And then what you look at on that end of things too is, in theory, when you're drawing that money out at retirement, you're in a lower tax bracket. So even the rate that you're paying could very potentially be at a lower rate. Makes a huge difference. So you've got solutions to all of this. Several retirement options are out there that provide tax-deferred growth. Employer-sponsored plans like 401k, 403b plans provide a convenient way to save for retirement. These contributions come out of your paycheck before they're subject to income taxes. And then personal contributions to a traditional IRA may qualify for income tax deduction. And a Roth IRA provides income tax-free withdrawals once the IRA is at least 5 years old and you're age 59 and a half. And then annuities can be used for accumulating retirement savings as well. And annuities do something that the other options can't. Annuities have the ability to provide you a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. And we can talk about that a little bit later as to the structure of annuities. And then also, if you think you can't afford saving for retirement, there's income tax credits that are available as well, just based on your income. The key to everything, this and everything else I'm saying today, is knowledge is power. If you know what your options are and you review them on a regular basis, then you're going to make changes appropriate to your needs. And it's not too late to catch up as well. Even though it's best to start saving as early as you can, it's never too late. If you turn with any of the contributions to any of these, effective 2013, here are your limits. But if the year that you turn 50, your limits increase. Those are called catch-up contributions. So you're able to contribute more after you turn 50. Excuse me. Next. All right, you've heard, I'm gonna cash out my retirement. There wasn't that much in there. Huge mistake in many cases. If you're younger than age 59 and a half and you cash out retirement, then in most cases you're going to have a penalty, have a 10% additional penalty. So this comparison shows you what, if you withdrew $50,000 from your 401k versus keeping the money growing in an IRA. So this example assumes that you're paying at the 25% federal income tax level, you've got the 10% penalty for pulling it out before age 59 and a half, and then 5% state income tax. So the $50,000 you took out is actually $30,000 when you get it in your hands. That's enough to make me leave it in there, right there. But if you left the $50,000 in and rolled it over into a tax-deferred program, in the next 20 years, look what it could grow to. Now that's assuming a 5% rate of return, and that's, you know, if you're putting it into a fixed product, I don't think you can get a 5% rate of return right now. If you can, let me know. But still, tremendous growth versus the $20,000 that you gave away in the beginning. Okay. And it's important to remember a few key items when you're thinking about living on your retirement savings. Number one, your retirement savings should last as long as you do. We can't count on, you know, gosh, I only need my retirement for 20 years. We hope that we're going to be around a lot longer than that, and statistics are proving that we have reason to hope that. And you may need to increase your income later just due to inflation. You know, if I'm 47 years old, if I'm saying, well, you know, I need $3,000 a month now, that $3,000 a month is not going to be $3,000 in a few years. And then you should also make sure that you have money put into your retirement budget for emergencies. And then everybody's different. You know, if you're living in West Point, Mississippi versus West Point, New York, cost of living is very much different. Obviously, you need to plan for the area that you want to be. If you're planning to retire to Florida, what's the cost of living where you plan to go? You know, you can't just look at today. Excuse me. And then, as I said, there are pieces, you need to focus on pieces that are going to give you a guaranteed income for the rest of your life. Just to break away for just a second, I referred to that a couple of times with annuities. You know, an annuity is a fancy savings account that offers you tax-deferred growth. Annuities have the ability to give you an income for the rest of your life. When it's time to take money out of your annuity, you have several different options as to how you're going to take that payout. One of them is income for the rest of your life, even if you outlive the money that's in there. And it's a very valuable tool. It's very a wise thing to at least consider. You can also take income for life. If you die before the income is spent, you know, do you leave it behind for a family member, or do you not? So lots of different options there, and I really encourage you to know. You don't have to make that decision as you create the annuity, but you kind of need to know what your options are.
Question.
Yes, sir.
When you say protect income against volatility, for the last 10 years, if I'm not incorrect, nobody has known what is going on.
You're exactly right.
So how do you protect it?
Well, obviously that depends on the situation. If you have all of your money, or whatever portion of your money that suits you, into a fixed product, you know exactly what it's going to do. I'm not a risk taker. I personally have my money in all fixed products. I work with a gentleman who is exactly my age, who watches the market very closely. He's a little more of a risk taker. He's at a half and half point. He's got half of his money in fixed products where you know exactly what it's going to do.
What do you consider a fixed product?
A fixed annuity, for example. It's hard to believe, I'm sure you can agree with me that a 3% fixed annuity, you know, 5 years ago we'd have laughed at. You know, today I could sell my 3% fixed annuity to somebody. So, you know, that I know that it's going to go no lower than 3% on my earnings.
Gotcha.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Somewhat.
The stock market this year rebound to
Doing
all
pretty
the
good.
losses.
Mm-hmm.
But those people 3 years ago probably held the gun and just kept spinning it. Should I go and kill myself right now? Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do. And if I sit down with somebody, if I sat down with you to look at how can we plan, one of my jobs, one of my responsibilities is to determine your risk tolerance and to know the suitability. That's, you know, Paul, I'm sure you agree, we talk about suitability all the time. If you're telling me that you're scared to death of risk, and I look at your income levels and I look at your your age and how long to retirement, and I put you in a very risky product, I've not done my job. In fact, I can be in trouble for doing that if it's not suitable for you. So it varies from person to person. Person who's in the stock market should have the knowledge to know that they need to stay there a long time. You don't, when things drop, you don't bail out.
When that person tell you risk rewards, there is a great risk, but there's a good chance you could get the moon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
How comfortable you are doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether you do that at 40 or at 60 like I am, I mean, you know, if you're at 40 and you have a 30 or 50% hit, there's a chance you could recover that by the time you retire. But at 60 years old, your tolerance for risk is about that much.
I have a client in Starkville who, he's 58 now. When we had this conversation, he was 57. And he's about 10 years away from retiring from Mississippi State. And the financial advisor he had before he became a Myron Woodman member is, this man is not sophisticated in investing. He's brilliant in other areas, but not in investing. And he was very pleased that his financial advisor, he's got my money in all the same things his are. You know, he's got to be advising me right, because my money's saying he wouldn't put his money there if it wasn't good. And we were looking at the risk level of where he was. And I said, how old is your advisor? He's probably 30. He's got time to rebound from the crash of 08. My 58-year-old client doesn't. So it just depends. But you're not wrong on anything you're saying. If you take risks, there's a potential for high reward, and there's a potential for disaster as well. So there are products out there to fit whatever fits you. There are high risk products, and then there are very, very safe products. The general rule is the older you get, the more your money goes into the low risk products. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Retirement income options. Cindy, I think we go into one. She's thinking over there.
I'm thinking about my own. Going, oh, maybe I did that wrong.
So you have the power to choose how you want to receive income from your retirement savings. This is one of those where it's going to have several different ones. Okay, so the options include occasional partial withdrawals. You know, whether your money's in a 401k or a 403b or an annuity or where, you can take occasional partial withdrawals. Leave the money in there, and when you need some, take it out. Okay, next one. You can do automatic withdrawals to where you get X amount of money every month, X amount of money every year, whatever suits your need. Next one, you can just take the interest out. Leave the principal in there. Next one. And then this is what I was talking about with annuities. You can get guaranteed payments for a certain period of time. You can say, okay, I've got $500,000 in this account. I want payments for 20 years. And then we'll be able to calculate what those payments would be. It's not going to be the same payment amount every month because of interest. You know, we don't know exactly what's going to happen within that account. So there's a very complicated calculation. We know which first payment's going to be, and then every payment after that will vary a little bit depending on what the fund has actually done. But you know at the end of 20 years, you know, you're done if that's the option that you choose. Okay? And then the next one. And this is what I was talking about here, guaranteed payments for life. And those things are limited to annuities. So an annuity is a very valuable tool. Yes, ma'am.
Are you going to talk about the being aware of the tax issues that go with taking the money out?
Yes, and we did just a little bit. I mean, we touched on it as far as the example that it gave of pulling $50,000 out and how much you actually got of it. It makes a tremendous difference. And that's something, you know, if you're considering taking money out of retirement versus a loan, you really have to look at the big picture. You know, not just today, what's it going to do, but what's it going to do in the long run. And any financial person should be able to tell you, should be able to project on down the road what's it going to look like for you, at least based on today's numbers. No guarantees, but based on today's numbers. Okay, next. Now, you all are small business owners, planning to be small business owners, so we want to shift in that direction. So why should you offer benefits to your employees? How many of you have ever been in a job that you weren't just real crazy about, but you seriously had to think about the benefits before you left it? I tell this story before I went to work with Modern Woodman, I was in a job that I really, really disliked, very much disliked. Was not using my education, was not using my skills. I traveled all the time. I was never at home. But I had a good salary and a company car and a gas card and good benefits. And, it took me 6 months to talk myself into working with Modern Woodman. And now I kick myself because this is the best thing that ever happened to me. But those benefits hung me on. So benefits can help you to attract quality people and keep quality people. And, I know that those of you who are just getting started are thinking, I'm way away from offering benefits. But you actually can. I want to give you some ideas on how you can offer benefits without it costing you necessarily. I talk to people about state retirement all the time. For any of you who are in the state retirement system, state retirement's the best thing going. But there are so many people who don't even realize how much the state takes out of your paycheck to go into that state retirement. They're doing what's best for you. It's kind of like, mom saying, I'm doing this for your own good. I was talking with a lady last night. She didn't have any idea that her money was going toward that state retirement and then the state was matching it. And so my point is, even if you offer employees options that they are paying for, they choose and they pay for, and your gift to them is I'm going to take it out of your paycheck, that's still a valuable benefit for a lot of people because they may not have the discipline to do that themselves. So we'll talk about that a little bit too. Next. Oh, and there are also, don't go back necessarily, but the end, there are also tax savings for you as a small business owner in providing some benefits, so we need to cover that too. Okay, you go ahead, Cindy, please. So there are various options for employers who wish to offer retirement plans to their employees, or even just to provide options for themselves as self-employed individuals. So there are programs that you don't necessarily have to include your employees, but you as an employee of your own business can partake in. Okay, go ahead. One is a salary allotment plan, and we're going to discuss these. Salary allotment plans go toward life insurance and annuities. Next is the SEP or simple IRA plans. Next is 401k plans. And then the last is 403b and lots of other more complicated plans that as a small business owner you would not necessarily be eligible for. So we're not going to discuss those at length. Okay, salary allotment plans. A salary allotment plan is a non-qualified plan. And what that means is that contributions don't qualify for income tax deductions. A salary allotment plan is a voluntary payroll deduction program that allows your employees to purchase life insurance and or annuity products. You deduct monthly premiums from the employee paychecks and then remit one premium to cover the premium. Excuse me, you remit one payment to cover the premium. Go ahead, Cindy, you can go through. So it's voluntary, which means your employees can choose to participate or not. This is exactly what I just referred to. You're going to say, here are the options. You're going to bring somebody in to describe the options to them. If they choose to participate, you're going to take it out of their paycheck and pay the premium for them. Okay? As I said, monthly premiums are deductible from paychecks. The contributions are not pre-taxed. So, it's not a tax savings that you're looking at for your employees. It's just the fact that you're helping them to be disciplined to offer these things. One advantage there is, and incidentally, for this type of program, you as the employer don't contribute toward your employees' benefit. Does that make sense? So the advantage here is that you're helping your employee to be disciplined. When they leave you, if they leave you, they take it with them. The only thing that has to change is how the payment gets put in there. So, it's not a matter of your employees, having to worry about finding more life insurance or doing something else with their money when they leave you. So it is a benefit to your employees.
Do you offer them several companies they could choose from to do that, or you just get one?
Typically, you're going to work with one company, yeah. Because if you offer several different companies and Wayne chooses one and I choose another and Paul chooses another, you've got 3 places to write checks to. That makes sense? Okay, next. A simple IRAs would be the next, I would say the next level. Go ahead and hit the next button so everybody be reading those. So a simple IRA is a qualified plan, meaning that contributions may be eligible as income tax deductions. It's easier to establish and maintain than other qualified plans and are an excellent choice for small business owners. So we're starting at the least level of complication, if you will, and moving on up in describing these. So as the employer, your contribution to your employees' plans are tax deductible. So if you're choosing as an employer to participate, to contribute money on behalf of your employees, that's tax deductible to your business. And then the employees may also make contributions if they want to. To be eligible for this, your business must have 100 or fewer employees who receive at least $5,000 in compensation annually, and you cannot have had another employee-sponsored retirement plan during the previous year. As an employer, you are not, here's the good thing, you're not required to file reports with the IRS or Department of Labor if you set up a simple IRA plan. So it really is very simple for a small business to set up. Okay, go ahead. The next is the SEP IRA. This is another qualified plan. The SEP IRA is ideal for self-employment and small business owners. As the employer, you make tax-deductible contributions on your employees' behalf. However, your employees may not contribute on their own behalf. Think about this. Go ahead and hit the next one if you would. So if you're a small business owner and you've got 2 people working with you, you don't qualify for the simple, but you can do this. If you're an employee of the business, you're able to contribute pre-tax dollars for yourself as an employee of the business. Okay? Excuse me. And then, as I said, the employer contributions are tax deductible.
What are the limits on that?
As far as contribution amounts,
Yes, ma'am.
honestly, I'd have to look at that because I'm not sure what they've done for 2013. I'll be happy to get you that information. I'm not sure of what the limits are specifically.
I ought to know it.
And I'm hesitant to quote numbers unless I'm very, very comfortable with it, because that's the one thing people remember. Okay, next. And go ahead and hit it again if you would, Cindy. So 401k plans, just to touch on, more complex than other plans. They do require a great deal of reporting. The employer gives tax deductible contributions through either matching, profit sharing contributions, typically higher contribution limits than other plans call. You can, it can be set up to where it's a traditional IRA, it's a Roth IRA that you're contributing to, and then participants do have the option for loans against the value of their own accounts. I think as a general rule, y'all are going to be way too early to even think about 401k plans, so we're going to talk on the others. Okay, if you would. Okay, so putting it all together, when you plan for retirement, instead of just wishing for retirement, you begin to see a clear picture of where you are in relation to your goals. Go ahead if you would. What we talked about is pay yourself first. Every nickel counts, right? Next. Protect your retirement savings. There are ways to protect your retirement savings, and depending on what's going on in the market, what's going on in your life, how old you are, the level of protection varies from person to person. The big thing is gain the knowledge, so you know what fits you and you know what's best, and you know what options are out there. Next. There again, know your options, know what your income options are. You know, you've got this big huge pool of money, but how are you gonna take it when you get to the end? That's one thing that we particularly work on is retirement distribution, not just the buildup of retirement money, but how are you going to spend it on the other end so that you don't outlive it. And next, work with someone who can help. As I said, we're a not-for-profit, so we don't charge for the advice in the meeting with you. Our annuities don't have fees. Our fixed annuities have no annual fees. So there are differences there, but you're welcome to work with us, but work with somebody. Woodmen of the World, who is that's like our Ole Miss versus Mississippi State. They're also a not-for-profit though. So when you think about it from that standpoint, that you're not going to pay fees to sit and visit with somebody, and when you're trying to build a business, that's pretty important. And one thing that I've not talked about just a whole lot, go ahead and advance the slide if you would, is that life insurance is a huge part of your retirement planning. I didn't include it in here because I didn't want you to focus on that, and people hear the term life insurance and they tune out. life insurance can be a huge, huge part of your retirement planning. Number one, money within, I can speak to our whole life policies, is growing at about 3.5% in the cash value. That's pretty good. And that's a guaranteed growth. And so saving within a life insurance policy is not at all a bad thing to do. But as a business owner, you have to think about what's going to happen if the bread truck falls out of the sky and hits me tomorrow. As you gain employees, you've got other people to think about. You know, you've got if you've taken on any debt to build your business, you don't want to leave that behind. If you're responsible to employees, you know, what happens? We had a family friend, a dentist, who died in Starkville recently. And he was sick for quite a while, and I feel sure he was very well planned out, but it just hit me. He's got a whole staff of employees who now are without a job. His whole family depended on his income. He was the only person who worked. You know, just think about that. That's a tremendous responsibility. My regional director was telling me this weekend that in his case from Jackson, Tennessee, there were two plastic surgeons who were in partnership together. Young men, had young families. They'd been in practice together about 10 years. Very successful practice. They both were pilots, had their own planes, never flew together. The one time they flew together, they crashed and they both were killed. This happened back before Christmas. Neither one of them had life insurance. Just amazes me that someone with that level of education, that level of income wouldn't have protected it. I mean, think about that. They probably had very large homes. They, who knows? But, their families were counting on this huge income over the period of their lives, and they did nothing to protect it. That's a part of retirement planning. Leaving money behind for your family, or even using it to grow cash. And there's no I dare say you can't find a less expensive investment than life insurance. I mean, especially you talk about risk versus reward. There's the great potential. I could make one payment on a life insurance policy and it'd pay out the $1 million that I insured my life for. It does happen. Excuse me. Does anyone have any questions? Anything that I can try to answer for you? That's good. That's wonderful. I wish you the best of luck as you work on your businesses and as you continue to grow. If any of you have questions, I've given you my contact information there, and would love to sit down and visit with you, put you in touch with anybody who can help you if I'm not in a position to be able to. Yes, ma'am.
And go back to the tax thing, is awareness that even though you contribute pre-tax or without tax, that when you withdraw, you will be paying taxes. And that should be a part of your understanding and your knowledge that it's not going to be some sum that you're going to be able to put into your bank account and it's all yours. At that point, Uncle Sam steps forward and says, now I get my money.
Exactly, and what Dr. Betcher is referring to is, I mentioned you've got qualified plans and non-qualified plans. A qualified plan is, the entire amount is qualified for a tax deduction in most cases. So every penny you put into a qualified plan, Uncle Sam has not touched yet. That's all pre-taxed money. At some point, Uncle Sam's going to get his, right? So at the end, when you take that money out, everything that you take out is going to be taxed as ordinary income at whatever your income level is at that point. That's what I was saying. If you're on the retirement end of things, in theory, your income tax level could be lower at that point because of your lower income level, right? Makes sense to take it out in smaller chunks so that tax burden doesn't hit you all at once. Remember, I showed you the $50,000 became $30,000 really quickly. A non-qualified plan is money that you put in. It's your own money. You've already paid taxes on it. You've received it as after-tax money, and then you're contributing it to a plan. You don't have to pay taxes on that twice, but what you do have to pay taxes on is the gain. So if you contribute $100,000 over the next 20 years and it's become $150,000, you would pay taxes on the $50,000 as you draw it out. And there are calculations, there's ways to figure, okay, which dollars am I pulling out? Am I pulling out the after-tax money I put in or the growth? And then finally, the Roth IRA is a really neat tool. A Roth IRA grows tax-free as opposed to tax-deferred. So you put in after-tax money. When you take it out on the other end, it's tax-free, so long as it's been in there at least 5 years and you're 59 years old, 59 and a half years old. That doesn't mean you can't move it from one company to another or one Roth to another. You can do that. But as far as actually drawing it out. So Uncle Sam's giving you a gift of tax-free growth. The trade-off is you're limited as to how much you can put in there. Right? The best way to hedge your bets is to know all the options. And for your particular situation, right now, today, looking into the future, what's going to be your best combination? And also, when you meet with somebody, you don't do this one time. You do it at least annually. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Okay, just say for instance, you have a vehicle you just put your money in. Which would be the best way? Pre-tax or after tax?
It depends. It really does. And I'm not trying to be smart with you, Wayne. It depends on the situation. Some people need the tax deduction right now more than they need the tax-free growth. Depends on what your income is. Depends on your situation. My children are grown and gone. My youngest is in the Air Force now, and I can't claim him anymore. I kind of need the tax deduction more than I need the tax-free growth. But so it depends on the particular situation, and that's why you want to get to know somebody and let them get to know you in the particulars of your situation. You don't come to a seminar like this and take anything that I say as a pat answer to anything. Anything else? Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara, and I hope that you have taken from this that this is an integral part of your planning process, both for now and for any growth that you want for your business. And I think Barbara has done an excellent job of building awareness that this is a highly individualized decision and choice, and not one that you want to just guess at. So thank you so much for coming. Are there any other questions? Okay, well, we will conclude this. Thank you.
Thank you to my able assistant.